Game week 37 is upon us. Only 2 game weeks left, so not much time to gain ground if you're still chasing in your mini league or want to better your rank. So in this video, go to take a look at the differential watch list, my transfer plans, and as always at the end of the video, the captain selection. SA, he was the highest point scorer in game week 36, 16 points for SA. No one guessed it, but let me know who you think will be the highest point scorer in game week 37. In this video, as mentioned, I'll focus on some differentials. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any other options as well. But for now, let's get into the video. Game week 36 was a really good game week for me. One of my best game weeks so far this season. 84 points, returns from Munoz, Guardiola with a clean sheet, Areola 8 points as well. Kevin De Bruyne, he blanked, Isaac as well. So 2 of my most expensive players actually blanked. But SA, the highest point scorer as mentioned in game week 36 with 16 points. And Bumo, my captain, got an assist, 6 points. So not the best results from my captain, but it's still not a blank. So it's decent, 6 points, and the captaincy made it 12. Jared Bowen, he is still continuing to deliver, and Watkins, my transfer in, he scored. So 9 points for him after maximum bonus. Wood as well, my other transfer this game week. So I sold Marmouche and I sold Mateta as well. They both blanked. So having Watkins and Wood in game week 36 really paid off for me. But for now, let's take a look at my team for game week 37. So this is my team for game week 37. I have a couple of decisions to make at the moment. I actually have Alexander Isak on my bench. I'm not that confident benching a player that expensive as Alexander Isak, but he's playing against Arsenal, and I have double Arsenal defense in Raya and Saliba. So I'm banking on Arsenal to keep a clean sheet against Newcastle and benching Alexander Isak. I might actually sell him ahead of game week 37. I'll talk more about that in the transfer section in a minute. Areola is on my bench as well. Not really interested in playing Areola while having Chris Wood on the pitch. I don't like playing my defenders against my forwards and attackers, so Areola will be on the bench. The same goes for Williams. Don't want him to play against Jared Bowen, while Trippier, he was injured in game week 36 and he has a really tough fixture against Arsenal. So this means that Guardiola, Munoz, Saliba will be my defense, and Bumo, De Bruyne, Rodgers, SA, and Jared Bowen in midfield, and up front, Chris Wood and Watkins. There are a couple of decent captain options in this team, and I will end the video by selecting my captain for game week 37. As mentioned, only 2 game weeks left, so if you're chasing in your mini leagues or want to improve your rank, it's time to start to have some differentials in your team. Of course, the problem with having differentials is that you'll miss out on some high-owned players like Alexander Isak, Cole Palmer, Mo Salah. So you have to bet against those players and hope that your differential can outscore them. So if you want to take a punt, I made a list with some interesting options. El Canus from Leicester. I know that Leicester are relegated, not really good form team-wise, but his personal performances has been quite good. I also like Jamie Vardy from Leicester. He actually is 1 goal away from scoring 200 Premier League goals, and it's his last game at home for Leicester. So Jamie Vardy is a really good option as well, but if you need a midfielder, I also like El Canus. Watkins was my transfer last game week. I know that his ownership is quite high in the official FPL game, 18.5%, but his effective ownership is much lower. So Watkins is actually a big differential. I know that it's quite weird that his ownership is that high, but this is due to him being one of the most selected players ahead of game week 1. So his ownership is actually around 2% or 5% depending on your rank. So Watkins, big differential, really good fixture in game week 37. Playing at home against Spurs. We know that Spurs probably will prioritize their final in the Europa League against Man United. In the last couple of game weeks, they have actually played a weaker team just to save and rest players for Europa League. So I think that Aston Villa and especially Watkins has a really good chance of doing well in game week 37. The last on this list is the lap from Ipswich. The same goes for him as with El Canus. I know that Ipswich are relegated and that they are not a really good team, but the thing is with the lap and Ipswich players is that they are actually playing against a team that looks even worse. So in game week 37 they have a game against Leicester, so I think that there will be goals in this game. If you want a midfielder from Ipswich, I think that Enciso is a really good option as well on some set pieces. We know the lap is on penalties, but Enciso is on some free kicks and corners, and is a really good player passing the eye test. So I would advise you to take a look at both Leicester and Ipswich players, because I think that there will be some goals in this game. As mentioned, I think that Watkins is a really good option going forward in the last couple of game weeks. They are playing against Spurs, as mentioned, in game week 37, and in game week 38 they are playing against Man United. And Man United are also in the Europa League and is Spurs' opponent in the final. So I think that we will see weaker teams from both Spurs and Man United, and they can also possibly get some fatigue and injuries in the really important game in Europa League. On the other hand, Alexander Isak has not looked great recently. I know that he got 9 points in game week 35, but this was due to a penalty and maximum bonus from that penalty. So after watching Newcastle's games, I'm not really impressed by Alexander Isak, so he is actually not passing the eye test at the moment. There's always a risk involved in selling a player like Alexander Isak, of course, really high ownership, and we know that he probably will start and play close to 90 minutes, but I think at the moment, if you want to take a punt, selling Alexander Isak to bring in Watkins is a good option. Another option is to sell Marmoush to bring in his teammate Erling Haaland. The same goes for Marmoush as with Alexander Isak. His form is dipping and is not really delivering at the moment, so selling Marmoush to bring in Haaland makes sense. You could possibly also sell Alexander Isak to bring in Erling Haaland, but a lot of FPL managers are already tripled up on Man City, so we need to free up a Man City spot to be able to bring in Erling Haaland. So I know that there's a big price gap between Marmoush, Isak, and up to Erling Haaland. He's priced at 14.8 at the moment, so most of us need to do a couple of transfers to afford this upgrade. So Haaland, he is selected by 23%. Same goes for him as with Watkins when we talk about and consider his ownership. A lot of dead teams have Erling Haaland in them, so I think that Haaland is actually a big differential. He was one of the most selected players ahead of game week 1 as well. So as mentioned, there are a lot of dead teams with Haaland, so I think that among the active players, Erling Haaland is a big differential. One way to afford Erling Haaland is to downgrade one of your strikers and bring in a 4.5 fodder. For my team, I would possibly sell Alexander Isak to bring in a 4.5 fodder. Scarlett from Spurs, 4.4, a good option. This player will just sit on your bench, so you don't really need him. Most of us has already played our bench boost chip, so we don't really need 15 players in the run-in. So downgrading one of your strikers to upgrade, let's say Marmoush to Haaland, is an option if you really want Haaland in your team. At first, I was considering SA as my captain in game week 37, considered him ahead of game week 36 as well, but I went for Mbumo. Of course, should have went SA. He was the highest point scorer with 16 points, but first out while discussing captaincy in game week 36 is SA. I talked about a couple of times already that Spurs, they are playing in the Europa League, so they will probably feel the weaker team in the Premier League for the next couple of game weeks. So SA against Spurs in game week 37. Crystal Palace, they are playing against Wolves. It looks really good on paper, a green fixture playing at home against Wolves, but when we take a closer look at Wolves' defensive stats, it's actually a kind of tough fixture. So Wolves, they have actually kept 2 clean sheets in their last 4 games, only conceded 3 goals, 3 big chances conceded and only 8 shots on target. Their expected goals conceded is not that great, 4.75, but I still think that Wolves are a bit underrated when we consider their defensive ability. So let's take a look at some other options as well. Erling Haaland is a potential captain for game week 37, especially if you want to take a punt on the Norwegian. I think that you definitely should consider giving him the captain's armband as well. Man City, they are playing against Bournemouth. They have kept 1 clean sheet, but only conceded 3 goals. That's impressive from Bournemouth, but they have conceded 8 big chances, 13 shots on target. They have an expected goals conceded of 5.28. So kind of mid-range defensive stats from Bournemouth, kept 1 clean sheet and only conceded 3 goals. As mentioned, really impressive from Bournemouth. But I think that those other defensive stats mean that they have the potential for conceding more goals going forward. And I think that traveling to the Etihad to play against Man City is one of those games where Bournemouth can concede a couple of goals. So Erling Haaland, I know, as mentioned, that he did not look that great in game week 36, but it's Haaland and he is a big talent, great goal scorer, so he can potentially score a hat-trick as well. If he gets the chances, he will potentially score. So if you want to take a punt, bring in Haaland and give him the captain's armband. My captain for game week 37 is Watkins. This was actually the plan before bringing Watkins in ahead of game week 36 to captain him for this lovely fixture against Spurs at game week. I think that it makes sense to bring in Watkins. Really good fixtures for Aston Villa, Bournemouth away, Spurs at home, and Man United away. So they are actually playing 2 of the teams that are still in the Europa League. So as mentioned, Spurs, they will probably play a weaker team due to their participation in the Europa League final. So I think that this is a really good fixture for Aston Villa. When we take a look at Spurs' defensive stats, they have kept 0 clean sheets, conceded 10 goals, 13 big chances conceded, and 20 shots on target. They have an expected goal of 6.99, and if you take a look at those stats, they're actually worst or 19th, 18th for every defensive statistic. So I think that targeting Spurs in the run-in is a really good option. At the moment, we have the opportunity to bring in Watkins. He's a differential, as mentioned earlier. He's selected by 19%, but this is just in theory. We know that this is much lower among active managers. So Watkins, really good stats, really good ownership for a differential, and a really good fixture in game week 37. So at the moment, Watkins is my captain. Let me know in the comments down below who will be your captain for game week 37. Thanks for watching. Like this video and subscribe to the channel for more FPL content.